Hello, everyone. This is VulpesInculta. Alongside me is Pandito, and we are going to be covering the Week 9 for Divisions 5D and 5E. So happy to be along. I know this will be the first time covering the division for you. I'll be filling in for Ladeus just temporarily while he is moving cross country. So happy to fill in and help you guys out. So, Pandito, how you doing, man? How was your week of Blood Bowl?
I mean, it was my week. My week was fine, but regarding Blood Bowl, it was pretty devastating. Um, I I had to consider the perspective of maybe retiring my team after the season.
Oh no.
So,
And
but apart from
you're in this division, so we will come across the match. We'll probably dive into it
yeah,
a little bit further, get your thoughts on it as well. But yeah, that's a bummer, man. I've been there. I've had some bad seasons in Rebbl, so um, yeah. Well, sorry to hear that. Things will be better though.
eh, it's part of Blood Bowl. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, very true. Cool. So we'll be going over each matchup and the results. We'll be diving into the standings and also looking ahead to next week's matchups for each of these two divisions. So we'll dive right into it. Looking at week 9, there are two unplayed games, including the first one that's on the list here. I guess we'll just take a really brief look. Hopefully this game gets played. I know console is high up in the table, so I'm sure it's important for him to go ahead and get this game played if possible. Looking at a Skaven and Lizardman matchup, we won't dive too much into this as it's still pending, but yeah, hopefully that game gets played. The first game that we do have up that has been played in Week 9 for 5D is going to be the Skaven Rat Rodents, coached by Craig Pitpup, facing off against the Scobs Knobs by LJ Dub, and we see a 1-0 victory for the Skaven Rat Rodents.
yeah. And what's interesting about the Skaven Rat Rodents in that case is that it's surprisingly a Camry team. Uh, we
Yeah, that's
will
right.
have a Yeah, they have a team in their player's name to be based around Rat's name, and it's a really fun
Yeah,
concept.
that
The
is a fun
coach is
concept.
cool, and yeah, he's fun to play against. So
Nice. So yeah, I mean, first thing looking at here, the TV differences were just about 100, and I would say in favor of the Orcs. So a bit surprised that I guess it's a little bit that low this far in the season. I'm not sure if these coaches actually got to play in the Greenhorn before the season or not. But
yeah,
we're still looking at fairly low. But looking at the result of the match, the um, excuse me, God dang, the Kimry team, excuse me, outblocked the Orcs 55-31. My goodness, almost doubled
Jesus.
up on the blocks. Did double up on the AV breaks. Were able to get 6 KOs and 4 casualties. Also a surf in there as well. So looks like they really just kind of dominated positionally. I'm sure the Tomb Guardians were able to kind of fit in and hold up a lot of blockers and throw a lot of blocks. Ultra Craig, the Blitzraw, the Palm Blitzraw, with 3 casualties, absolutely on fire this match.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, despite the AV9. Quick look at the orc team. They did get a troll Kaz, which leveled him up on Hummertoe. But I mean, there's some niggling injury on a Lino, MNG Black Orc, and an AV busted Black Orc. Absolutely brutal. Could be down 2 Black Orcs unless he has the money to replace one. Another
yeah,
Blitzer was badly hurt. He did get kind of a rando lineman Kaz, which is all right. An MVP on a Black Orc, the one that's MNG'd. So that's a good thing in the long run. But yeah, it looks like it was just kind of a rough matchup all around for the Orcs here, and looks like the Kimmer team just sort of dominated from the get go. Not a lot of time of possession for the Orcs, and looks like the Kimmery held on to the ball the entire time for the second half. So 1-0 grind. Sometimes that Kimmery grind is tough to stop.
yeah. To defend the orcs result a bit, the Camry does have 3 mighty blow, and one of their mighty blows has piling on. In that case, it's the guy that did 3 casualties, so it's reasonable to understand that they would cause lots of casualties because you have two 8+ roll, no, 9+ rolls on orcs, which ordinarily it's like 10+ to cause an injury. Then in
Right.
that case it's just 9, and you can roll that twice with the piling on. So
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's not terrible odds to try to break armor. It looks like the is when it works, it works. And especially against orcs, they need the players on the field. That's why they are high armored. But yeah, it was a good win for the Kimmer here.
yeah.
Right, next up we have Moniker and his Altdorf Alcoholics facing off against Pandito and your Cross of the Empire. Um, So yeah, walk me through this matchup, man. I mean, first thing I see is that you're down TV, which is rough, kind of from
Yeah.
the get-go, about 200 TV, facing off against a Skaven team that has some super developed gutter runners, some really good blitzers. They have the SPP where they need it on. Looks like he had the better team coming in, and man, those AV breaks weren't kind to you, were they?
No, it was absolutely devastating. The casualties in that matchup, even if there weren't that many bad injury, the one that happened were totally devastating. I mean, out of the get go, he he arranged for like two of my catcher to get thrown out of the game, which was not good.
Yeah.
Uh, he- and my bowl of my blitzer got hurt as well. I think I lost like a movement, or I got some niggling injury. The MVP got thrown to like the only loner of my team.
I see that. Oh man. Yeah,
Yeah, it
it's just one of
hurts.
the it's just one of those games where nothing went your way. Three casualties was inflicted by him, so that's a total of five casualties on your team was inflicted by either fouls or failed dodges or the two surfs. I'm not sure how if you can remember where a lot of these casualties. So I mean,
Mostly fouls.
mostly
He
fails.
had three successful fouls.
And he didn't have any dirty player either, from what I can see. So it's just
No,
some linos coming in and stomping on you and rolling high on those armor and injury.
yeah, he had the advantage of having lots of players that he could spare, so he really benefited from that.
Yeah,
And when he came at a certain point in the game, he knew he had the advantage. I mean, he could he could benefit from just stumping me to the ground and not really worrying about anything else.
yeah. I mean, six completed passes. Looks like he was able to farm, get some pretty good SPP. Leveled up a lino on it from an MVP. Maybe he gets that dirty player. His Claw Mighty Blow Blitzer was able to get two casualties. The other one was able to get a casualty. So incredible development for him. On your end, obviously, you have some, both your guards took a perm injury. Rando Lino took a perm injury. And also that your elite blitzer took a perm as well. So I can see how you're kind of taking a step back and saying, yeah, what the hell? This is a team that's not in good shape to compete moving forward. So
Yeah.
I have played Pro Elves as well in a different league. I played up to probably about 40 games or so, and I know that I said this in the other recap actually also as well, is that I know the attrition is real. It's tough to keep them alive over a long haul. So that's interesting. But I mean, besides this matchup, have you enjoyed playing with Pro Elves? Do you think you would go, if you do re-roll, maybe somewhere along staying in line with Elves, or do you want to kind of be the one that's inflicting this kind of damage?
I really like the Elven playstyle in Blood Bowl. It's one of my favorite of the entire game. The passing game is something that passionates me, and I really enjoy playing Pro Elves. I was delighted when I got my thrower to the third level because that's where they start to get really, really good.
Yeah.
Um, and having a catcher that had 5 agility, and he doesn't show up in that list, and in my memory, I didn't fire him, so I don't really know where he is. But
He might have been mixed next game. This is just the players that like took place in the game itself.
okay, yeah,
Let me see if he actually is on your team or not. Yeah, you have the agility 5 catcher in here. It looks like he probably missed this game. So
yeah. So like, there I had some really good rolls in the levels up, and
Yeah,
so
yeah.
before that game, I had in mind, oh yeah, I'll keep playing this team, whatever. It's a fun one, but after so many injuries, like a catcher with 7 movement and a niggling, uh,
Right, and he
my
does.
my
Yeah.
my my tackler with a niggling, like it doesn't really get worse than that. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, AV7 and a niggling injury is a terrible combo. He does have
yeah,
guard, but now two perms, probably fireable at this point. Looks like you're gonna be probably rocking loners for a while since you have just one, two, three, four, five, six, seven non-permed players. It could be a tough grind if you wanted to keep this team. I wouldn't blame you either way. The agility 5 is someone that can win you games at high TV with elves,
yeah,
but at the same time, kind of starting fresh wouldn't be a terrible idea either. So yeah, I mean, it's unfortunately it's kind of part of it with these elves. Sometimes you can run into matches like this where your team just gets wiped. That's sort of the drawback of having all the ability to to win. So you have the
yeah,
chance to just implode at any point.
yeah, and I'm okay with that. You know,
Yeah.
it's part of the game. So
Cool. Next game we have up is Fiction and his Brick and Mortar versus Mundungo and his Pepper Snakes, and we have a 1-1 draw here. Do have an orc off. Whenever we have the orc off, the first thing I'm going to be looking at is going to be the TV comparisons, and it was pretty close here, about 1550 versus 1510.
yeah,
These look like some pretty well developed orcs so far in first in the season. Similar amount of blocks were thrown. Looks like the AV breaks favored Fiction. However, the removals were pretty similar across the board. So it looks like a 1-1 draw. Hard to tell, but by looking at this, how the game actually developed. But yeah, it was interesting matchups. I know these are two good coaches. Fiction has kind of been a staple in the playoffs for a long time. Um, and so, yeah, I mean, two casualties inflicted. He did get a Black Orc leveled up from a casualty, which is fantastic. His Palm Blitzer
yeah,
was able to get another level up. Yeah, and he also has scored a Goblin touchdown, which is interesting. He's only 3 away from a second level up as well. Looking quickly at the Pepper Snakes, he was also able to get a level up from a Black Orc casualty, which is fantastic. His Mighty Blood Blitzer was also able to induce a casualty. Looks like a lot of similar stats here across the board. He did have a random Lino
yeah,
die. Another Lino was able to complete a pass for a level up. So, really just similar stats across the board between both these teams. Vixen does have a MNG Strength 4 Blitzer for next game, which is a bummer. But I mean, it's hard to say. It's kind of difficult to say just based looking at the stats here how exactly the game panned out. But it looked pretty even across the board.
yeah. It was probably a big. It was probably a big grind fest between both.
Yeah.
They just hit each other repeatedly, and but
Yeah.
a thing that I noticed in the Pepper Snake is that they're really close to having a level 4 lineman, and even if it's a lineman at level 4, it's noticeably strong as a
Yeah,
player.
no, it's good. I mean, he has guard also, so that's an incredible piece. AV9 guard block is fantastic, and for orcs, I think that's how they win at high TV when they start facing those claw teams. They have to be able to outguard them. They have to be able to outpunch them to have just
Yeah,
any sort of fighting chance. So any guard you can get, especially in like a position that it's tough to get guard, that's great. That's awesome to see. So. I mean, some pretty good level ups on both these teams, really. So these are some orc teams that are going to be a beast to face in the future.
yeah. It looks like the fan didn't really enjoy the game as both teams lost the fan factor after the
Did
result.
they really? That damn. They did, yeah, both -1. Maybe because they were just used to them winning so often that
Yeah,
that the draw wasn't too happy.
exactly.
Yeah, next up, so we have another game that has been played. It looks like some Bretts versus some Lizards, similar TV between Rigoletto and Gaius Centurion.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully this gets played as well. We do have like about one more day or the rest of the day to get these in. So maybe that's something that can be recapped for next week. The next
Yeah.
played game that we have is going to be Captain Deuce and his Norse versus the Horn of Gortnak from I Shoot Blanks, which is a Chaos team.
Yeah.
Exact same TV coming in. The Norse were able to outblock the Chaos, but I know with all the frenzy on the Norse team that usually skews them to have more blocks generated.
Mm-hmm.
Removals were pretty similar as well, so this looks like another matchup that seemed to be pretty similar across the board here. Um, so the Yeti was able to inflict a casualty. That's a pretty nice Yeti that's developing. They have a runner was able to inflict a casualty and a touchdown to get the 5 SPP to level up. That's fantastic
Yeah.
to see.
That will be incredibly good for the guy. He already has another level 3 runner, so getting another piece that is level 3 that can run and having bludge, it's gonna be fantastic for the player.
Yeah, no doubt. So, I mean, just quickly looking at the Norse team, I know his Ulfs, he has two kind of rookie Ulfs there. His Berserkers, one has Mighty Blow, the other one's rookie. Not sure if he's faced some attrition so far this season, but I know those are three positionals that he would like to start focusing on leveling up through the rest of the season. But yeah, his runners are looking fantastic. Looking at
Yeah.
the Chaos team with I Shoot Blanks, two completed passes on this Mighty Blow block warrior. That's pretty interesting. Casualty inflicted from a Mighty Blow Beastman, touchdown on a block Beastman. The Warriors are developing like crazy on this team, and that's
Oh yeah.
fantastic to see. That's like really the core of the Chaos team. I know he's on his way to starting to get a killer as well with the Beastmen. So they don't quite have the tools yet to winning a lot of games and being highly competitive, but it's starting to look like a pretty damn good Chaos team in the making.
Yeah, I'm looking at the team, and what I think is the same as you, but I'm really seeing the potential of having some really devastating team when they get to a higher TV. I
Yep.
mean, a level 4 warrior is just extremely scary for anyone facing them, and they have guards on two of their 4 warrior, which means that if there's a warrior on the field, you can be sure that he's really gonna be scary and annoying for the other team.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. So that's awesome. So it looks like two teams that are developing really well. 1-1 draw. They both increase in the fan factor. Perhaps not the result that the coaches wanted, but I think overall a lot of promise between both these teams.
Truly.
And finally, we have a lopsided 6-0 victory. One
Yeah,
of
that's
the
surprising.
Yeah, a bit surprising. So we're looking at a Dark Elf team facing off against a Skaven team. Um, Hard to tell what happened here, but it is a bit of a bloodbath. It looks like there's
Oh
only
my god,
yeah,
yes.
three Skaven players were left on the field at the end. They threw incredibly 55 blocks to just 9 blocks from the Skaven. 23 they suffered 23 AV breaks, 20 were inflicted, 8 casualties.
Yeah, that hurts.
And looking at this Dark Elf team, he has a palm block Lino, which is which is incredibly interesting. That was able to inflict 4 casualties for 8
And he's on his
SPP.
way. He's on his way to a 5th level soon too. So
What a monster! I mean, that guy probably gets tackled next, and just absolutely is going to be wrecking people. That's interesting. So MVP on Lino was able to get a level up, was able to get a touchdown on the dirty player of all people. The blitzer was able to get a touchdown and inflicted 2 casualties. He's close to leveling up. We got one blitzer, rookie blitzer, that was able to get a touchdown and a casualty to level up. Another blitzer was able to get a completion, a touchdown, and a casualty to level up. He got the 6 SPP he needed right away. A rich elf was able to score a touchdown to level up, and then another completion, touchdown, and interception from a witch elf for them to
Oh my
level up. So
god.
just incredible amount of development. This team went to about 5 level ups, came into this match at a 1390 TV, is now at 1510 TV.
Oh yeah.
So
They're-
interesting around. Ended up deciding to take plus AV on the Witch Elf, which I personally can't agree with as a level up take, but I get the AV7 is scary to work with. Man, so I mean this team is starting to take shape. I'm sure. In the eyes of how I don't even know how to pronounce this coach's name, Logosmani.
yeah.
So wow, I mean, well, what a match for them. For Red Stick, this is unfortunately how sometimes Skaven matches go. Similar to your Pro Elves, they're built to win games, but they're not built to last long, and that's why we saw that.
Exactly.
Fortunately, the only permanent injury out of those 8 casualties was just an AV bust on a journeyman, so no permanent damage. He rolled a lot better on his Cas dice than you did, Pandito,
Yeah.
and his team is still in good shape to compete. So
Yeah, it's not that problematic in this case.
all right, so we will take a quick look at the leaderboard for 5D. Looking at the tables here, Mundungo and his Pepper Snakes, the one that had a draw against Fiction, the third place team, which actually ended up being a good result for him to kind of stave off Fiction a bit. He has currently a 2-point lead over Console and his Skaven. However, they still have a game to play, so if Console's able to pull out the victory in his game, he's going to end up on top of the table. So still a lot pending on kind of the games going into week 10. And then right after Skavens and the Scary Squad, Fiction and his Orcs 4-4-1, and they got a Lizardman team in the Skiing Factory. Once again, they're pending a game to be played as well. With the win for Rigoletto, if they're able to get their game in, he's right there within the top of the table. So a lot to be played with these kind of top 4 or 5 teams within the division.
Yeah.
A lot of games, a lot of stuff still has not been decided. But what is your general thoughts on the division? You're the one that's playing in it. You're recapping it as well. What are your thoughts about these kind of top 4 or 5 coaches?
I mean, they're pretty good for the ones I've played against. Like, I really like the composition of the top 4 and 5. It's a mix of Skaven and bashy teams like Lizardmen and Horks. I mean, the 14 points teams are still contending, in my opinion, if they start winning. Like the Dark Elf team could start winning really a lot because they just got 5 levels up, so
no
it's an opportunity for them. And the cast team, the Art of Gortang, could very well be on a good way to win. And if they don't win this season, I'm expecting great result from them next season because they have such phenomenal warriors that you can expect great things from them.
Yeah, no doubt. That's it. This is an interesting div. I'm happy I was able to fill in and check out these teams. A lot of really good teams, a lot of really good coaches in this division. It's gonna be highly competitive throughout, even through the rest of the year.
Totally.
All right, so moving on to week 10. I know a couple games haven't been played. We were just talking about that, but we'll go ahead and dive into the matchups from what we see at the moment. And first up is going to be Sycona and his Lizards facing off against the top of the leader at the moment, Mundungo and his Orcs.
Yes.
So first thing I see is that looking at the team value, it looks like the Pepper Snakes have about 60k in cash to burn. That will make them underdogs eventually. So I'm not sure how much he wants to actually burn that cash or not. I'm assuming he will, but it's still going to be similar TV across the board. looking at the Pepper Snakes, they do have a tackle Mighty Blue Blitzer who is a skink hunter. He does have the 4 strength 4 to try to alleviate some of the strength advantage that the Lizardmen have. Only 3 block Saurus. He does have a block Croxagore. But a lot of his TV is falling onto the skinks at the moment. So I think going in, I think the Orcs have the better team. They have they're top of the table, so they've been winning. I'm leaning towards the Orcs here, but what are your thoughts?
I'm leaning toward the orcs too. Having a skink hunter and a guy that can rivalize with the Croxagore as a black orc blocker is quite a threat. And knowing that he has 2 guard piece, he won't have any problem blocking that Croxagore again and again until he falls down and stop playing the game.
That's a good point. That's a good point. So yeah, I think we're both on the same page here. So yeah, let's see Sycona pull off the upset here as well. He can prove us wrong.
Yeah.
All right, moving next, we got Rigoletto and his Lizardmen facing off against your beaten up Pro Elves.
Yeah.
Quickly looking at the TV difference, it's about 100. So it's not a huge difference. Looking at this Lizardman team, just 2 block on the entire team, no tackle.
Actually, before analyzing, the skink coach has dropped up of the league.
Oh, this one
right
did.
now.
Rigoletto did?
Yeah.
Interesting. Wasn't he towards the top of the table? That's interesting. He had a chance for a playoff
Yeah.
spot.
But that's what one of the commish told me in private message. Like I knew that my opponent next week was dropping of the league, so it's gonna be filled up by a ramp up
coach. Okay, so yeah, it's gonna be tough for us to kind of tell how I guess who you're gonna be playing, but whoever gets you might be pleasantly surprised that you only have 6 rostered players.
Yeah, they're gonna have an advantage for sure.
Even coming from ramp up. So yeah, that's a bummer to hear about that Lizardman coach. He was right there competing for a playoff spot, not even just the Challenger Cup spot. But so yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens there. Next up, we have the Chaos, the Horn of Gortnatic facing off against the Scops Knobs and their Orcs. Similar TV values here. Both coaches have some money to burn off that I expect to happen. But what are your thoughts going into this matchup?
I think the orcs are in a disadvantageous situation. I mean, they only have 2 black orc blocker coming into this game and 2 linemen. They're gonna have to have a lot of journeymen, and when you're a bashy team like orcs, you're gonna want to attempt a lot of block. And we all know about the double skull, and we all know that even if you reroll that, you could reroll a double skull. So blocking is a risky game sometimes. Even if you're a bashy team, if you have lots of journeymen, it's gonna be tough winning this game, especially against another bashy team that has such monster warriors. Even if they're lacking one for the next game, they still have a guy with guard, block, and mighty blow, and all of his warriors that are present in the game will have mighty blow. So yeah, it's gonna be tough for the orc to win.
I think so too. I mean, missing the 2 Black Orcs is really going to be a killer in this matchup. That's really the kind of the pillars of the Orc team is having those strength 4 monsters in there. So yeah, I think I'm agreeing with you. One of his blitzers is AV8 as well, which could be a liability. I think the Chaos team have they're going to have the better team coming in, and that's usually where I lean towards. So yeah, I think I'm going to agree with you on this one, and that the Chaos is going to come out on top.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
All right, next up we got Logos Mani and that monster Dark Elf team coming off that monster win, facing off against Console and his Scurry squad of the Skaven. So Logos Mani just got done beating a Skaven team 6-0. Do you see him coming out with a similar result here?
I mean, we could be really surprised. Stormy Daniel, the star blitzer of the Scurry squad, is pretty impressive. You punch him, get him on the ground, you're happy, you try to run because that's what Dark Elves do, and he just uses jump up to run after you and punch you in the face, rolling a 7 or more, and you're down because of his claw mighty blow combo, which is just devastating.
Yeah, and he rolled doubles for jump up, which is pretty good. Which means just 8 SPP away from claw palm jump up, and this guy's an absolute monster for most teams to deal with.
Yeah, totally. Plus, their gutter runner are pretty good. I mean, one with double head, that means he can just run between some players
Yep.
sometimes and have the chance. And he has a bludger and a wrestler.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
gonna be a pretty equal matchup in my opinion, because the Dark Elves, they have a great team. To be honest, I'm personally rooting for them, but I think they're gonna be pretty equal coming into this matchup. It's gonna be an interesting match for
It
sure.
is going to be an interesting match. I mean, if we saw that for the Dark Elves, what helped them win the match was this Palm Lino actually going crazy. Can he do the same thing, or can Stormy Daniel be the one that rolls well and gets the knockdowns and gets removals on their end? So I'm gonna go take a wild guess and say it's not 6-0. That it's a closer game, but I think I'm gonna lean towards the Dark Elves pulling off the victory here.
Yeah, I agree with you.
All right, next we have the Cheese Wheels facing off against the Skaven Rat Rodents, who are a Kimmery team. So they're facing off. Maybe the Cheese Wheels might be a bit confused against the naming conventions of the Kimmery, but these are these are no Skaven. And coming in, it looks like the Kimmery has some cash to burn, so the TV advantage should be about 80 for the Skaven. I mean, for the Kimmery coming in. But what do you think here? What are your thoughts going into this one?
They have some tackle piece in the Camry team, and their skeletons can be quite dirty players, which will be dangerous for the gutter runner of the opposing team. And knowing that they have a pile on Blitzra with Mighty Blow, it's dangerous. And they have a guard piece. Like having 3 Mighty Blow in their team is gonna be tough for Skaven to handle, because it doesn't take a lot to knock some of their players down.
Yeah.
And their Tomb Guardians have like 3 dice automatically on the gutter runners, if I'm not wrong. So it's gonna be tough for the Skaven, but Camry are a slow team. The gutter runner could just escape them, dodge them, and be quite well. Plus, they have 2 sidesteps and a double head. They have a chance to win. Definitely.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's gonna come down to, can the gutter runners do Skaven bullshit to win this game, right? Can they get a deep kick, or can they put some pressure on the Kimmery team? Can they turn them over? Kimmery doesn't do a very good job of picking up the ball, or if the ball gets knocked down during the drive, re-picking up the ball. So it's gonna come down to, can the Kimmery, with their Mighty Blow advantage, out remove the Skaven, and can the Skaven put enough pressure to scoop up the ball? Can they take advantage of a ball being dropped, or a timely sack? It'll be interesting. But who are you leaning towards here?
Um, I'm thinking that the Camry have the better chance.
All right, I think I'm gonna go opposite here. I know Red Six coming off a tough loss against the Dark Elves. I want to see him pull off the victory here. I think some things go his way. Gutter runners score a couple touchdowns. Kimmery have a hard time answering. I'm gonna take the Skaven in this one. All right.
All right.
Next we got Norse versus Skaven. The Skin Deep versus Altdorf Alcoholics. Skaven has money, a Skaven team with money. That's interesting, and a pretty high team value. They're gonna be coming in with quite the advantage coming in. Captain Deuce versus Moniker, 2 veteran coaches within Rebbl. What are your thoughts going into this one?
Um, Looking at the Skaven team, they are impressive. Their gutter runners are Brownie and Bashy, which is not what you expect at first from a Skaven team, but they are gutter runner that will punch you. They have a horn. They have a strip ball. They have a dauntless.
Yeah.
And a strength 3 gutter runner that can just run and he has blood, so he can just run and punch you in the face and go with his business. Plus, a sidestep bludger is basically a level 2 pro elf blitzer, which is, yeah, it's devastating. They have they have some great pieces, and their blitzer have claws. Might one of them has claws, one the other has tackle. Both of them mighty blow. I'm guessing the if they can get their bashy shenanigans going, the Norse team is gonna have a tough time. But
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
do have a great Yeti and some great positional pieces. So
Yep,
who
I,
knows?
I think I think that really is a lot of this going to come down to the Yeti and Brain, the Mighty Blow Berserker, really going off. I think the Skaven have a much better team coming into this. If maybe the Norse had a Mighty Blow piling on tackle piece, maybe I'd say they would have a chance. But I really don't think they have the tools to pull off the victory in this one. I think it's gonna be an uphill battle for them. They're not quite there yet. They do have two tackle pieces with their linos, but can they get the removals that they need to win this matchup? I'm just not sure. I think they're going to have to roll really well to get that. And man, this is a great Skaven team and a good coach as well. So I think I'm going to go with Skaven on this one.
Yeah, same for me. It's I'm going with Skaven.
All right, and then the last matchup that we're going to be going over for 5D is we have the Bretonian Knights, 1250 Brett's team. They still have a game pending against Fiction and his 1410 Orcs. So quite a bit of a TV advantage here pending. Well, yeah, pending the previous game for the Bretts, see if they can get any level ups or not, or take any attrition. But looking at it as is, I think this one is just on paper is going to be favoring the Orcs. But what are your thoughts?
Right here, I'm going with Brick and Mortary as the best team. They have some great Goblin Troll shenanigans that I really like to see.
Yeah,
Um,
that's fun, right? I mean, he is missing a strength for a blitzer.
yeah,
The Bretts have a strength for a blitzer themselves. They do have Dauntless, so that kind of they also have a strength for a blocker. So the strength advantage isn't necessarily in the favor of the Orcs as much as you would think. They should be getting one of their blitzers back as well. Uh, s- so it's interesting. I don't they do have a strip ball on one of their blockers, um, but ultimately the palm tackle, the black arcs all having block. One now has guard. The troll being there. I From my experience playing Bretonians, sometimes it's really hard to disengage from high bashy teams. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen here. I think the Orcs are going to really just kind of force their will on this Brits team. They're going to have a hard time disengaging, and it could be a painful one for them.
yeah, especially with the Agility 4 Blitzer in the Orc team. That's always useful. In a Bashi team, having a ball carrier that has Agility 4 is the best.
Yeah, yeah. So and also Fiction is a top tier coach as well. So that's anytime you have I think a top tier coach with a better team coming in. I haven't played against Guy Centurion yet. He could be a great coach, but I mean, he could be one of the top coaches as well. But facing against someone who I think has the better team and a good coach is always going to be an uphill battle. I'm definitely going to be giving this one to Fiction.
Hmm.
All right, so that wraps up 5D. Fun division. That one's exciting to see. Now moving on to 5E. And this is a division that is very top heavy. They have three coaches that are top tiered. that are, as you can see, coming in. Coming into this next week, they're all three are battling out for those playoffs or Challenger Cups as well. So go ahead and start to open this up and take a look at the Week 9 games. There looks like there are two that are still pending to be played, similar to 5D, but we'll go ahead and start diving into this. First one we have up is going to be the Legion of Nehikata, the Kimry team facing off against Harry Koo and the Skaven team. Both these coaches are really good coaches. They're both towards the top of the table. It looks like the Skaven were able to come out on top here, ultimately with a 2-1 victory. TV advantage, or the TVs were both pretty similar coming in. The Kimry team definitely had the block advantage. Not surprised there. Were able to inflict 19 AV breaks. There was also, it looks like there was 4 AV breaks that were either from fouls or from kind of self-inflicted. The removal game was definitely in favor of the Kimry, but the Rats were able to pull this one off.
Yeah.
That's sort of how sometimes that's how these games go sometimes. The Palm Tackle Blitzraw got 1 casualty. I'm sure he got plenty more KOs. Palm Tackle Blitzraw also got a casualty. The Thrower was able to score a touchdown and get a casualty himself. MVP on Tube Guardian. All in all, he wasn't able to. Our own wasn't able to come out with a victory on this one. We got some really nice development out of it, at least.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I mean, looking at Harry Koo, I know Harry Koo was in my division last year, and he definitely whipped me. This guy's a really good coach. He was in the playoffs. I think he won 1 or 2 games in the playoffs as well. This is a really good coach. Got an MVP on a blitzer, which is great to see. Still has that rookie blitzer. I'm not sure if he's faced attrition. Some really good-looking gutter runners on here. Guard gutter runner. He has that movement up, who is already probably on his way to being that natural one-turner. He was able to score a touchdown. The Wrestlehorns got her MNG'd, but was able to cause a casualty, which is funny enough. Must have been regen because it's not on the report. And then he also has a sure hands one that was able to punch in a touchdown. He does have a couple MNGs, but no permanent injuries, which is great to see for him. And comes out with a great win to be able to continue to try to stay towards the top of the table, which is not easy in this division.
Truly.
All right, next up, we have a game that hasn't been played yet. We have a Necro team facing off against a Skaven team. Hopefully it gets in against Zuspa and Nightmare Dave. Do you have any information about the 2 games that haven't been played in this division? Have you heard about a coach dropping out, or if they're going to be playing soon?
Nah, I haven't yet, so I couldn't really tell.
Yeah. The next one that has been played is Wild, the Bowington Museum crew, the Ogre squad facing off against Witch House Rising latest and his Dark Elves, and the Ogre team. Normally you would say surprisingly comes out on top here, but they did have a 250 TV advantage coming in. I mean, Ogres blowed up really fast, but TV advantage is a TV advantage. They came away with the draw here. Maybe it's not as surprising as you would typically think, first off. And it's kind of an early developing Dark Elf team as well. So 1-to-1, the amount of blocks that the Ogres threw, 39 to only receiving 9 blocks themselves. Incredible. They were able to really outbash the Dark Elves team, even with the Noblars existing. So.
Oh my God, that hurts though. They lost a Gnobler that got the MVP, and that put him like at 1 SPP from getting to level 3.
Yeah, that's a bummer. I mean, any Noblar MVP sucks, but yeah, that one in particular, it was a real bummer to see. But he does have a monster Ogre, Churchill, sure hands, break tackle, guard, was able to punch in a touchdown, 3 SPP. The rest of his Ogres are really developing well. He also, Martyr, was able to get a casualty for the level up as well. Let's take a quick look to see what he got. He got block. He rolled a double, so now he has a block Ogre.
Oh my God, that's great.
Yeah, this is a pretty nice developing Ogre team that's coming here. Has a dirty player, Noblar. That looks like it's a fun team to play. For the Dark Elves, Witch Elf was able to punch in a touchdown. Other Witch Elf was able to get a casualty, which is just one SPP away from leveling up. A Blitzer was able
Yeah.
to get an SPP. A lineman was able to get a casualty to get up to level 3, and an MVP on another lineman gave them a level up. So did lose a block lineman to death, which is unfortunate, but some pretty good development here as well. I know you probably didn't want to draw against ogres, but they're a scary team to face. They can cause a lot of damage. Coming away out of this with 2 level ups, 1 death isn't a terrible ordeal, and some of his key positionals are closer to leveling up as well.
Yeah. And plus, I really like that he managed to get block on both of his witch elves, which gets him 2 frenzy bludgers, which is always great to have. And he's 1 vanity pass away from having another level 3 witch elf, which is
Yeah.
always good.
Yeah. So his team's right there. Dark Elves are tough to start off with. They usually, once they kind of have to get up to like 1250, 1300 TV for them to really start being effective. His looks like his team is right there and is starting to be ready to start winning games.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Chobshu and his Kislev, My Blood Bowl Sins, facing off against Koso and the Criminally Insane. I believe that is a Chaos team. That's correct. And a 2-1 victory for the Kislev here. Was looking at the quick stats here, man, 62 blocks thrown from the Chaos team. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Even despite that, they really didn't win the attrition war at all. I mean, they were able to inflict about 5 more AV breaks, but the removals actually, I think they had 1 more removal total, which is a bit surprising. There is no Mighty Blow, or there is 1 Mighty Blow, to take that back from the Bear, and there was 3 Mighty Blow, a Claw on the Chaos team, but they just weren't able to inflict the damage. I know I saw Chopshoe in Discord say that he felt like he probably shouldn't have won that game, but Kislev, good coach, a lot of agility. He has agility 5, agility 4 running around. That can win you the game itself. Just roll some dice. Some pretty good development on this Kislev team.
Yeah.
Came in with a 340 TV advantage. Yeah, I know I've seen some shops who have some just ridiculous scores and ridiculous development with this team coming in. Not surprised that his TV is that high. It's really impressive that he was able to get his team value this high this early. But yeah, good win for him. Continued to stay on top of the table. Got some really good development. No level ups, but 2 passes, 2 touchdowns, 2 casualties. MVP on a non-dead Lino.
Yeah, that helps.
That helps.
Plus, he's really close to having a level 5 player, and I think that might be the first level 5 in both the division that we cover. So
yeah,
that's always fun. Plus, it would be if he can roll good. Well, if he wants, he could get a bludger with movement plus and guard. That would be a scary catcher, in my opinion.
Yeah, that'd be an incredible catcher who can just on 2+ leaps jump into a cage and you immediately have guard on your ball carrier.
Yeah, and his agility plus catcher is pretty scary because his leap is incredibly effective.
Yeah, I mean, not just his leap, but dodging into tackle zones as well. So
yeah, it's a blitzer that just leaps over everything with incredible facility.
Yeah, like it's a great piece. Quickly looking at the Chaos team, they don't quite have the tools to win this one, so keeping it close. Kudos to Koso. Has a pretty good beastman who has dodge and movement up. Could be a ball carrier in the future.
Yeah.
Warriors aren't quite there. He did score a touchdown on his Claw Warrior, which is good. It's going to be tough for him to level up with just Claw themselves. MVP on the Rookie Warrior, which is great. He does have the Mino, who's able to inflict a casualty that has a block, so that's a good piece as well.
Yeah,
it's coming along, but that's sort of how this Chaos thing goes. If you're playing Chaos, you're usually in it for the long haul. It's gonna take you a few seasons for your team to really ramp up and be where you want them to be. So kudos for him for staying competitive against a top tier coach who's towards the top of the table, and he'll have better luck in the future.
Yeah, good luck. Chaos.
Next up, we have the Moya of this Kislev team facing off against Practical Snow and his Undead, dead and scoring it. And this is probably the biggest upset of the season for this division. Practical Snow was undefeated coming into this match at the top of the table, facing off against a Lizard team that he had about 100 TV advantage of. Lizards are still tough, no matter, all that strength for it can be tough to deal with. But a 2-0 victory here, quite impressive. Practical Snow and his Undead were able to throw about twice as many blocks, which allowed them to have the AV break advantage, but it didn't really lead to a removal advantage. They did inflict one more KO and one more casualty than the Lizards, but you think if you throw twice as many blocks that you'd be doing a little bit better in the attrition game. It looks like the win did cause a pretty good price to pay for the Lizardmen. They had a Saurus with a strength bust and the Crocscore with a niggling injury. Probably two
Yeah,
firing offense. The Crocscore doesn't have any good level ups, so that's really rough to take. But a win's a win, and it's probably one of the best wins in the entire day of the season. The mummy
I agree.
for Practical Snow was able to cause a casualty. The tackle Mighty Blow White was able to cause two casualties, which is good to see. Russell Ghoul got an MVP, just two MNGs on his two monster ghouls that he has. So that sucks for next game, but it's still okay for him. But yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see exactly how this game went and how the Lizards were able to pull out a win on this one, because it seemed unlikely coming in. They did get a casualty from a skink. He was able to maybe hit one of those ghouls. That's interesting, but
I mean, in my opinion, I think the game came out to having six Saurus. I think that really
oh,
helped him because
no
if you
doubt.
see, both of his injury on Saurus were on the rookies. So he could have a bench of Saurus ready to just take over when their teammates were put down. And Saurus are, in my opinion, one of the core pieces of Lizardman. They are incredibly useful. You score with Skink, but your Saurus are like your wall against the enemy. And keeping some reserves of them, that's the best way to win.
It was good. The swords, yeah, the swords are definitely keys. I mean, the strength 4, movement 6, they are absolute beasts to handle. They're really one of the best pieces in the games. That definitely they win so many games just by themselves, just being strength 4. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, big upset here. So kudos to Emperor Canadian. You beat a really good coach, a really good team, which is awesome to see. Practical Snow, you're still towards the top of the table. Plenty of games left. Let's see if he can reclaim that top spot.
Yep.
Next, we have Ariel Pickles Flashpoint, coached by Easy Breezy Butte. It is a human team facing off against Shaoz. Probably brutally
Shells, yeah.
Shaoz, yeah. Probably brutally mispronouncing your name. I do apologize. And his Necro scoring. 2-2 tie here. So quickly looking at the stats, the Necro were able to fully outblock this human team, 61-34. They were however, even though they were able to inflict more AV breaks, the humans out-removed them completely. The humans were able to were able to knock out 5 Necro players to just having 1 knockout themselves. So even though
That's
they threw
amazing.
27 less blocks, even though they had 3 less AV breaks, they still knocked out more Necros. Their punches were pretty must have been pretty devastating. I mean, he does have a palm tackle piece, to be fair, who was able to cause a casualty and probably a good chunk of those KOs. He does have an ogre with Mighty Blow, so it's not all that outrageous. And the only Mighty Blow from the Necro team was on a Flesh Golem. So
Yeah.
you're more. I mean, he definitely had the pieces to better influence that injury roll, but still, I don't think you would expect the difference to be that stark. But I mean, a level up on the thrower, the agility 4 thrower. He was able to punch in a couple touchdowns. The blitzer was able to cause a casualty for Shao's and his necro. 2 touchdowns for the werewolf, which is great to see. He's closer to leveling up again. The white was able to get a completion, casualty on a flesh golem that leveled him up. Hopefully getting block, which will be really important for him. MVP on a zombie. Maybe he gets another dirty player. Maybe he gets a block zombie. Did take an AV bust on a ghoul, rookie ghoul, that's probably fireable at this point, which is a bummer because I think that's the only ghoul he had in play here. But overall, I think this was a bit of an upset. I'd have to look at the standings again. I know Shao's is actually on top of the ramp up, so he has a chance to make the Challenger Cup, even if he doesn't finish second in this division because he came from a ramp up. And I believe he's number 1 in the REL ramp up as well. So he's a guy that is he has a lot to play for as well. So. Close matchup. Looks like it was a fun one. High scoring. Got some knockouts. Got some injuries. Got some level ups. Looks like overall pretty entertaining match.
Totally. And that's it for the game of this week.
Yeah. So we had one more. The Make Me Cool. Mateo versus Killman. Hopefully that gets in. That gets in on the Orc Mirror.
Yeah.
Cool. So we'll take a look at the standings here. Like I said, there's really 3 coaches, 3 top tier, Chapshu, Harry Q, Practical Snow, are 3 great coaches who would not surprise me if they're in Division 1 with these teams that they're playing in just a few seasons, if not next season. They're fantastic coaches. They really are. They're some of the best coaches in REL. You can see that with in the results. I mean, combined, they are 23, 3, and 1. 1 loss combined between these 3 coaches. You can see the touchdown differentials. It's just these guys are just absolutely dominating this division so far. So Practical Snow, I know you got your first loss. You're still only 3 points behind. There's still a lot to play for. So that's fine. And then also, like I said, Shao's, who is 2-2-0 in the division, really good. If we take a quick peek at the ramp up, he is number 1 in the ramp up. He's leading the ramp up right now. He has a chance to make, I believe it's the Challenger Cup as well. So there could be, there could be 3 coaches that make some sort of playoffs or Challenger Cup at the end of the season. So that still a lot to play for. This is an exciting one.
Yeah, I agree. So it's a fun division for sure.
All right, so now we will take a quick look at next week's all-important games. First we have up is a big one. It's Owned and his Kimry team, who's been really successful against Emperor Canadian and that Lizards, who are coming off probably the biggest victory of the entire division. Looks like the Kimry's going to be coming in with a pretty fair TV advantage, about 200. These guys actually have the strength to handle the Lizards with their Tomb Guardians. The Lizards are missing a Crocs. Looks like they did buy a new Saurus, so they should have all 6 of their Saurus left. But what are you thinking going into this matchup?
I really like the fact that the Kimry have lots of mighty blows, lots of tackle too. They should be able to counter some of the shenanigans of the opposing team.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think this Kimry team is the better team. You can see that with the TV advantage. I don't think the Source are going to be able to inflict their strength advantage that maybe they were able to do against the Undead. I think Owned is going to come out on top on this one. Maybe Emperor Canadian turns out to be another top tier coach coming out of this division, and maybe he can pull off another upset.
Yeah, totally. We will see.
Next up, we have Chapshu's top of the table Kislev facing off against those humans, Easy Breezy Butte. So looks like the Kislev is sitting at 1550 TV because they do have a blitzer that is MNG'd, but still has the TV advantage over the humans. pretty good looking
Hmm.
human team. He has 5 guard pieces, which is going to be tough for the Kislev to deal with. 2 guard for the Kislev. And they also have this palm tackle blitzer that can absolutely be devastating against this Kislev team.
Yeah,
So I think he
an absolute
has,
monster.
yeah, an absolute monster. I think he has probably the best maybe the best player in this game, even though they don't have the TV advantage. But can the Kislev, um, the thrower doesn't have block. He doesn't have any defensive skills. It's gonna be tough for him to protect the ball against these guys. If he
Hmm.
if he can kind of slow and steady move up, use his guard advantage, make it tough for the Kislev to get a shot on the ball carrier, they can pull out the victory here. But what are you thinking?
I don't know. Even if you protect as good as you can with human, you're against a team that can leap, and they have a bludger that can leap inside your cage. If you fumble the ball, the Kislev are gonna get it. So it's gonna be a really stressful matchup for the humans. Hopefully, they can keep the ball and maintain their advantage as well as they can. But the Kislev are really threatening.
Yep. I think I'm going to go with Kislev here as well. Shepsu's been playing lights out all season. He's been really consistent. He's been to the playoffs multiple times with different teams. This is a really good coach, really good team. Yeah, ultimately, I think he's going to be the one that comes out on top here as well.
Yeah.
All right, next we have uh, Mateo and his orcs facing off against those monster ogres coached by Wild.
I,
So
I really enjoy the ogre composition. Like ogre aren't the team that you expect to be this high TV. Like most of the time, they'll struggle and have kind of difficulties playing the league. But like there, you see that it's probably a really good coach that has them, and he's been able to make some absolute monster. So it
it's a great ogre team. So ogres do bloat up really fast, just because the ogres themselves, you get 6 of them, but they're all really pricey. So it's kind of another thing. Them being on top of just having the worst players in the game and Noblars, that they do get bloaty fast. So it's a really tough team to win with. But I mean, facing off against this orc team, they all are AV9. So that that's an advantage. It's gonna be tougher for the ogres to inflict removals against these guys. The orcs do have a tackle piece, some mighty blow that can absolutely just destroy those noblars, and three block black orcs. Pending how Mateo's game goes this week, if it doesn't inflict or doesn't have too much attrition, I think I'm gonna lean to the orcs here, even with a TV disadvantage.
yeah, same.
All right. Next up, we have Zuspa versus Killman. Two teams that I believe haven't played yet this week. Yeah, that's correct. So these teams are not quite in the state that they will be when they play. But quickly looking at what we have here, the Orc team does have 2 guard Black Orcs. They have a pretty monster Blitzer that's moving up and strength up, which is fantastic to see. The Necro is going to be missing. After his game, his Werewolf will come back, but he does have a niggling injury on the Werewolf. And he has a Werewolf that has thick skull. No. Oh man, my
that
ex-girlfriend.
that's pretty spooky.
Zuspa. That's a double too. That's a strength skill. Zuspa. Oh man, that could have been a mighty blow werewolf. You might be. I'm not sure how if you did it for the memes or if it's if you're
Yeah,
newer
that
to Blood Bowl. It just depends. If you're doing it for the memes, hell yeah, that's hilarious. If you did it to be competitive, Mighty Blow is probably 1,000 times better than Thick Skull.
yeah, I agree. But if you look at it from a different perspective, wanting to keep your werewolf alive isn't a bad thing. Like even as a meme, it can add some utility. Of course, I
Yeah,
agree.
Thick
Mighty
Skull.
Below.
Yeah, Thick
Yeah.
skull is not a bad skill. It's usually the opportunity cost of taking it. Yeah, thick skull is good at like high TV when you're facing against like a bunch of claw mighty blow. Your players are more likely to stay on the field. But damn.
Yeah, it's fun.
Oh man. All right. Well, going into this one, big TV advantage to the Orcs. Better team. I think I'm gonna give this one
Yeah.
to the Orcs.
And they have a great thrower too, which is something that you don't really expect from a Nork team. Like accurate on a thrower is can make the difference. That means he has for a Nork he has a 2+ on some pass, and that's
It's
incredible.
yeah, it's better for the two turns as well. You know, trying to score quickly. So yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Excellent. So next up we have Shao's and facing off against Harry Koo, two coaches who are battling for playoffs and or Challenger Cup spots. So two good coaches, two good teams coming in. Looks like the Necro are going to have the TV advantage. What are your thoughts coming in this one?
Um, I think for the yes. I think the Necro are the have an advantage here personally.
Yeah, I mean having the tackle werewolf is going to be great at hunting down those gutter runners. Um, they
Yeah, and the werewolf. I really like werewolf because they can chase the enemy to the end of the earth. They have only one movement less than the gutter runners. So if they're playing on defense, you can basically, if you're familiar with football, you can play them as safety, and the gutter runners can't score a touchdown if they can't get past your if half their team can't get past the line. Um,
yeah,
I, I
yeah.
um, I really like werewolves in a situation against Skavens. And while the flesh golem are just demolishing the LOS, the white just hunts every blitzer and every line rats that get past them. And for the gutter runner, well, you have your werewolf, and the zombie can take care of the rest. But zombie are just zombies, so yeah,
Yeah, I think the Necro team is in much better shape. There is one gutter missing, which is rough. A dirty player missing as well. The blitzers for the Skaven team just mighty blow between the two. Um, I do believe the Necro have the better team coming in. Um,
yeah,
It'll be interesting. I mean, the Skaven are underdogs. They could spend about 70K of their cash if they wanted to get a wizard, and that might change the game itself. Just get make scumming a wizard and kind of with those gutters that can win the game itself. He does have a movement up gutter. I think this is probably leaning towards a draw more than anything, but um,
yeah,
I'm gonna say I'm gonna go on the limb and say Shells and his Necro get the upset and beat Hariku in this one.
yeah. I agree. It's leaning for a draw easily.
All right, next we got Practical Snow's Undead coming off their first loss of the season, facing Nightmare Dave and the Pestilent Horde and his Skaven. Um, hasn't loaded up for me just yet, but what are your thoughts on this one?
Hmm. Let me see. Practical Snow versus. I mean, the undead team is a slowish team normally, but they have a movement plus goal with bludge, which mean in that case again they'll have one piece that can chase gutter runner, but all they were lacking two ghouls for the next matchup because of MNG, and they're lacking their agility 4 ghoul. Their white are quite good. One of them has tackle, that's great against Caven, but I'm really leaning more toward the Skaven in this particular matchup. Um, they have all their players. Even if some of them are wounded for life, they still have an agility 5 gutter runner. They aren't that well developed, okay, but I really believe they can do great thing. Plus, strength 6 rat ogre
That's a
with guard.
beast of a yeah. That's a beast of a red ogre. That's an awesome piece that can actually. I mean, the mummies might have a tough time dealing with that as well.
Yeah,
Um, I think I'm gonna go with the undead here. They have the mighty blow. They have the tackle. Yeah, they're missing two ghouls, which is a pain. But practical snow is a really good coach. Towards the top of the table. I don't think the Skaven are that much better. I think the TV advantage is pretty similar. Yeah, if practical snow, has a hard time picking up the ball, or if it's a deep kick, could run into some trouble. But I think the undead's going to come out on top in this one.
I have to disagree there, but you make some great points.
All right, and the last one we have up here is going to be Latest in his Dark Elves facing against the Crenly Insane in Koso's Chaos. So similar TV, 1400 versus 1430. Well, what are your thoughts going in this one?
I think if the Dark Elves can use this game as a trampoline toward higher TVs and SPPs, because if you look at their team, okay, you can have technically in the best of worlds 4 level ups after the game without counting the MVP. You get 3 vanity pass and no 4 vanity pass and a touchdown with the Blitzer, and you have a level 3 witch elf after this game, a level 3 Blitzer, and a level 2 lineman. He doesn't have a kicker yet, which means he could get a kicker, which is always fun to have, to be honest. And that's just great. I mean,
Yeah.
in terms of who is gonna win this particular game, I'm leaning more toward the Dark Elves because the cast team hasn't had that much development, and it's pretty much on all kind of different players. So it's not really they don't have any star players to say the least. They have some great piece with great skills, but they don't have like monsters like the 2 witch elves of Witch House Rising or Agility plus lineman. Like I'm really leaning more toward the dark elves there. Plus, lots
Yeah.
of bludgers.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on that one. Yeah, I think the biggest difference you nailed it right on the head is gonna be the five blodgers. No tackle for the chaos team, just two block pieces. They don't really have the tools to handle that much amount of defensive skills on the dark elf team. So even though the TV advantage is similar, definitely think the dark elves have a better team here, and they come out on top.
Yeah, yeah. That should be an interesting match. But I think yeah, like we discussed, dark elves on top.
All right, so that wraps it up. We just banged out two division recaps. That's fantastic. I do appreciate you, Pandito, having me on and let me fill in for Ladeus for the week. That's awesome. I'm not sure if I'll be recapping these guys next week or not as well. I guess that's to be determined. But this was a lot of fun, man. I do appreciate it. I hope you have better luck next week as far as the attrition comes in, and that you pull out a win. And I'm looking forward to seeing these two divisions and all the teams and how they pan out for the rest of the season as well.
Yeah, I'm pretty hyped to see what's gonna happen. And even if my team doesn't have any more success, it's still it's my first season in Rebbl. It's still a fun season. I enjoy seeing all the teams around me progress and become better and better. So yeah,
Yeah, that's
it's
great,
fun.
man. That's great. Well, thanks everyone. I appreciate you listening in, and I'll catch you on Discord as well. Thanks again, Pandito, and yeah, see you next time, folks.
Yeah, see ya, folks.